Hello, beautiful humans. I'm Jen Madrone, and today I want to talk about self judgment, all the ways that we beat ourselves up and belittle ourselves, and the habit that we've probably had for most of our lives of just being really cruel and mean to ourselves and not even realizing often that we're doing it. And I'm also going to talk about self love, the process of self love, and what it really is. So, when we think about judgment and the way that we are constantly judging ourselves in relationship to this process of awakening and transformation, you may have noticed that the judgmental thoughts seem to have gotten louder after you started this process. And that's because as we raise our awareness, as we start to become more conscious of what we're thinking and what we're feeling, we start to hear all of the thoughts in our heads, all of the things that we just kind of took for granted as normal and pushed to the side and didn't really pay attention to. We start to notice those more because our awareness has shifted, our vibration has been raised, and we start to see things that we didn't see before. And so we start to notice that drone in the mind of the way that we're always judging pretty much everything. And it really happens with ourselves. And it can happen in the context of just the voice in the head that's telling us that we're not good enough, we're not enough, we're not as pretty as this person, or we should be doing this better, we're not fit to do something that someone else is doing, just constantly telling us what we can and can't do. And it can also show up as just feelings of not being enough, feelings of not liking ourselves, all of the things that the heart has stored, has been stuffed down over time because we didn't want to hear it, we didn't want to notice it, and we stuff it away. And as we begin to awaken and we move through this process, all of this stuff comes to the surface, and it feels really shitty when it starts to come, because it's just overwhelming, and it's the opposite of how we want to feel. It's the opposite of how we thought we were going to feel when we moved through this awakening process. And so when we start to notice and really see all of the ways that we put ourselves down and all of the ways that we're just really mean to ourselves, it can be really depressing. It can be overwhelming, it can be depressing, and it can make it difficult for us to really move forward or to know how to change it. And so, the awareness is definitely where we begin. As we shine the light of our awareness on these thoughts, then we can begin to change them. Then we can begin to call bullshit on our thoughts and on our mind, because it's really what the mind is. It's just an excellent bullshit generator. And so we watch it, we call it out, and we just notice the feelings that it brings up in us. And then we start to shift towards a more loving and accepting view of ourselves. And we start to move towards self love. And so when we hear the phrase self love, a lot of things can come up in us. One thing is it may seem completely out of reach or ambiguous. We don't really know what it means, or it may be like, well, yeah, I'm okay. I guess I love myself. I'm not really sure, but I'm good with me. And so when we unpack this idea of self love, we also have to confront the idea that it's not something that we just start doing all of a sudden. It's not something that happens when we tell ourselves, like, hey, you're a good person. Hey, you're really good at this, and those mantras that are affirming and say, hey, you're actually really attractive, and you're smart, and you're this and that. Like that's those are good for the reprogramming, but that's not what self love is about. It's not a belief that we are good or better or, amazing. It's not about a belief. It's about that complete acceptance of ourselves. And really, we won't have that self love until we completely accept every part of ourselves. And then that self love comes in normally. It comes in naturally. It's not forced. It's something that arises when we do all of the work of healing ourselves and of, like I said, just complete 100% acceptance and starting to let go of all of the things that are causing us suffering. And so self-love is really like the end result of all of this work that you're doing on yourself, all of the emotional work and the healing of the traumas and the old programming. Self-love is the end result. It's what we're going for. And when we get there, everything just becomes a lot easier and we stop fighting with ourselves. But it is a process and it doesn't happen overnight. So it's something we cultivate through the work that we're doing. And so I just encourage you guys all just to keep doing that work of watching the thoughts in the mind, calling bullshit when you know that they're not true and they're just the old programming, and changing those thoughts. And if this is something that you're struggling with, that you've been struggling with for a while, and you're really ready to change it, then please send me a private message and we can talk and see if the work that I do with my clients would be helpful for you. And it looks like Katie has a question. Yeah, the mindset about the light and the dark, done some good. Yeah, so exactly. It's watching the mindset. It's watching all of the ways that our mind tells us what to think and what to believe. And it is really hard. And it takes some willpower and some effort. But once we're able to shift those old limiting thoughts, then we're able to deeply connect with who we really are on a much deeper level. So thanks, Katie, for that. And yeah, it's always a work in progress. So thanks you guys for listening, sending so much love to all of you. And if there's any more questions, just leave them here in the comments, and I'll see you in the Facebook group. Have a great night.